Hello Empire, this is Knight of Misfortune with Empire Strategy, bringing you another replay for Supreme Commander 2. This one was kind of a spare of the moment replay. I just downloaded this one and saw it and it was like, good lord, I gotta cast this one. I think, in my opinion, it was a pretty entertaining match, a pretty short one. So I can get this done in probably 10 minutes. So let us start. I am positive 5 seconds, game speed 2. This is Izzy as Red UEF versus Elias, Green Cybran. The map, unfortunately, I forgot the name of it, but it will be posted below. And this map is pretty interesting because there's one choke point in the middle and it can get pretty interesting with those fights. So let us go. I will launch in 3, 2, 1, launch. Alright, so you got Izzy going for a standard mass opening with one air factory, and we've got Elias going for a pure mass opening with one research station and two air factories. So frequently you will see air openings on this map because it's easy to um, fly over this area here and bomb everything. So an air opening becomes very prudent at that point. And air fights are always very interesting. We see a scout coming out for Izzy. Gonna scout these two air factories and hopefully will adjust properly. UEF usually has the upper hand against other factions with air, but against two factories it may be a bit difficult. As we can see, Izzy is a little bit ahead in mass points. He finished this one way before Elias had the chance to finish his mass extractor. Even though Elias started with a mass opening, now we see well, this is just energy, but so far just making those fighter planes, and of course Cybern does have that bomber feature on their fighters, which is always nice. Sorry, 92 Izzy did make a air factory, and so far air is on Elias' side. Mass points is fairly even, although Elias did have his for a bit longer. And we have a transport coming out. Elias did take, sorry, not Elias, I keep mixing them up. 92 Izzy, these guys are so similar to me. Both of these guys are great players, and we got a very nice strategy of getting these mass points on these platforms by utilizing the air transport. And now we can see that 92 Izzy is for sure ahead in mass points. Although I don't really see what 90 Elias has been building that puts him behind so much. And we can see that even, especially these mass points behind here are giving Izzy a great advantage. We see a scout coming in around the air, around the radar range. And there's actually no radar. One's just being built right now. And another one being built again for Elias. Just going to capture all these mass points behind here. And looks like the Gemini is going to just miss this. Actually, he might see it on radar, but it's going to disappear once he's out of range. Uh, he's just going to miss these mass points, so looks like he's not going to know that. Well, he might. He might know that there's a transport out on the field because really there's only one thing that can be out to get these engineers out here. And we have a small area engagement. Gemini just taken out by this fleet of air. And I don't think Elias's opening was as good because he's down in mass, he's down in air, although he did start with um, a mass opening. 3 land factories coming out for Izzy. Meanwhile, Elias only has 1, and he has to pause his air factories. So, either he didn't take the right tech for Cybern. Oh, he's taking a Megalith. That's what he was saving for. Okay, so he's taking a Megalith land gantry. At this point, it can only basically be a Megalith with one research station. I don't think he could have gotten anything else. Meanwhile, we see Izzy coming around here with his air transport, hoping for some shenanigans, and I'm pretty sure there's only an engineer in there. Yes, indeed. And we'll see what he can do with that engineer. Although, one pretty smart thing, he was going around the radar. But honestly, he only has an engineer, and this is pretty dangerous. He might just lose this with an engineer. At least it's not an ACU, which would have been completely risky. Very, very risky. Coming in with a scout. I don't know what he was hoping for. Obviously, Izzy or Elias had a fleet of air here. Or maybe he was just making sure that there's air still. And actually, pretty interesting thing right here happened. I don't know if Izzy caught that, but Elias did a wonderful thing by hiding part of his air force. So now Izzy doesn't know exactly how much air there is, but he's aware of this megalith coming out. He's deciding to push, but there's a PD coming, and that should technically push him back. Although no, yes, the point defense will go down, but this megalith will push back Izzy. Although Elias did take it out half baked, which lags it at periodic time. So we see a overwhelming number of units for 92 Izzy coming out, and this Megalith is not helping too much now that he's coming back online. It's gonna take out these tanks, but the problem of it not being completely finished is gonna persist for a while. We see two research stations coming out for Izzy, and the air transport is coming back. I don't think Elias even picked up on it. Some more energy generators. Obviously, he has to put down those for those megaliths. He only had four to my surprise. You really need more. That's probably why he was lagging on eco so badly. And a fourth land factory coming out with some more pigeons. And a stalemate so far. We've got this, still got this transport out in the field, which is pretty handy for some flanks. We got a second megalith out. And the first megalith is not yet completely built, I guess. We got some Geminis, but those are really not gonna do much against this air force of wasps. Does he have shields on them? He does not, but I think he was taking for something else. 5 land factories for uh, Izzy, and at this point, I think 4 land factories pretty much equals out 1 land gantry. And we see something interesting. Izzy's going for a land drop on these megaliths. Very, very nice move. Micro intensive, but nevertheless very effective against a few number of megaliths. Uh, Practically as effective as a teleport. I don't know why he's not letting these guys out, but he's going to pick off this megalith no problem and reduce the size to 2 again. And another interesting thing Izzy did, at this point I don't think the trade-off was really good because he lost a lot of tanks, but anything is good because he's up in production, so in this point Izzy can trade very safely pretty much. He did lose a land factory to these few units. I don't know how he managed to do that. There wasn't that big of an air force with these megaliths. And I think he had a shield on here too. A 6 land factory coming out, recovering that mass. That might put him back behind quite a bit, but he does have these behind um, pod mass extractors here, and rebuilding that research station, going for another drop in here. And Izzy is actually doing quite a nice thing. He's sending his wasps in first. He's got to be careful though, because Elias might um, engage with his air, which I think Izzy doesn't really know about. He would have been more careful with his wasps. And once again, you see that move in. And again, an airdrop. I think an interesting thing I would like to see Elias do at this point is maybe get bot detonation, taking out another Megalith and retreating with his tanks pretty much relatively safely. This was a way better exchange this time. And we can see there's nothing else in terms of production coming out for Elias, so that is putting him down way behind. And now we have a 7th land factory coming out, and this land factory is completely, I mean, land gantry is completely nullified in my opinion at this point. We would have been better with 3 more land factories with Brackman at this point, and maybe some kind of detonation on his bots. But we see an air scout, and now he will see the full air force, and there might be some more air coming out at this point. He's making transports and wasps out of 1. And we see some more transport things. Elias should really be careful. There's not enough adapters here for that. And these adapters are just getting picked off. I don't think Elias is going to get another Megalith though. That was a nice retreat. Another half-baked Megalith, or maybe that's the one from the start. That's interesting. It must have survived. There's really no need for another half-baked Megalith to come out since that point. More transports, so that strategy is working out pretty well for him. And even if he doesn't use it here, he might take the transport around and actually flank. These Megaliths are pretty slow. That's for their one downside, but in numbers, now that there's 4, it's a pretty substantial air force. And we see an air gantry coming out for Izzy here, so we might see an AC-1K, which would be a smart idea right now because there's really nothing to take care of Air Force. There is a decent size Cybern Air Force, but it's not teched or anything because he spent all this Megalith and adapter research. And there's going to be another drop, and he has to really let him out. Oh, just managed to let him out. And interesting thing, wrecks, falling air wrecks don't really do damage on tanks. But that was surprising. Elias had a really nice save on that. Let's see what is cooking up, if it will show me. Um, that's really unfortunate that it doesn't show. Really buggy. It used to show this, what was in production. We'll see in a second. It's almost done. And judging by the speed, I think it is not an AC-1K, but we shall see. More land factories going down. Interesting stuff. These megaliths are really taking a toll, and we see an experimental Star King Extreme transport which will be able to pick up all of these tanks. And at this point I think there's only one target that is possible for this transport. Is he retreating with his ACU? And yes, he is going around. Interesting enough, Elias is not picking up on this. He's not even sending his air force over there. Oh, disaster! There's going to be a snipe opportunity here, and these megaliths are not going to catch Izzy's ACU, and Elias goes down. A very interesting match, and a very big missed opportunity for Elias. Um, Pretty interesting that Izzy lost that land battle, having 7, yes, 7 land factories and some air and some really nice tactics. But as I said in the beginning of this cast, it's very difficult to push past this point against that many megaliths with a blob of tanks. They will just get destroyed. That's why he was using his transports very nicely. So that tactic, very, very nice for you newer players. Work on your micro and try to get those drops down. And there was a really nice save here, and a brilliant, brilliant decision to go for an extreme transport. That was really his last chance at that point to get around and snipe. But I'm really, really surprised that Elias didn't even try to engage with his heir. I think he could have, might have taken out that king if he would have focused on it. Obviously, Izzy did a nice job retreating. He could have taken his ACU with the transport, but I think that would have been a worse idea. Anyhow, I think this cast is getting long enough. I just wanted to show you guys this awesome play of experimental transport, or transport drops rather. That experimental transport was not too impressive, not as impressive as these microing basic transports, and it was really nice. I think for Elias, the start was a bit weak. He did get a third air factory, interesting, and he didn't have enough land production. I think against that, I think what he should have done to counter this dropping technique completely is to get bot detonation. He did detonate his factory here when there was a drop for snipe, but there's just not enough uh, buildings to detonate to get that many tanks out. This Star King Extreme fits a lot of tanks in it, and of course you cannot detonate your experimental gantry. It took me actually a while to figure that out, even though I tried. And anyhow, yeah, for you newer players, you cannot detonate the experimental factories. And it was a great game, in my opinion. I would like to thank you very much for watching, and I urge you to send me your replays to um, Empire Civilization is not strategy. You should see a link down below, and send your replays there, and I will do my best to cast them. Also, please comment, rate, and subscribe. It shows me that you guys enjoy watching these videos. And thank you once again for watching. This has been Empire Strategy. Cast